Are you ready to unlock your full potential and maximize your productivity? Look no further than Productivity Smarts, the ultimate audio podcast hosted by renowned productivity expert Gerald J. Leonard. In every episode, Gerald shares captivating stories, invaluable tips, and cutting-edge strategies that will transform the way you approach productivity. Whether you're looking to reduce stress, overcome overwhelm, or simply get more done in less time, Productivity Smarts has got you covered. But that's not all. You'll also gain inspiration from real-life success stories of individuals who have achieved greatness through productivity. Plus, you'll learn the latest tools, techniques, and habits that will help you achieve a new level of happiness and fulfillment in your personal and professional life. So why wait? Join us every week as we delve into the exciting world of productivity and help you unleash your full potential. Get ready to take your productivity to the next level with Productivity Smarts. As a productivity expert and host of the Productivity Smarts podcast, Gerald J. Leonard has been a proud supporter of Kiva since 2011. Kiva is a non-profit organization that helps entrepreneurs in third world countries access the capital they need to start or grow their businesses. By making a small loan through Kiva, you can help these entrepreneurs achieve their dreams, support their families, and contribute to their local economies. And with a repayment rate of over 96%, your loan can be re-lent to another entrepreneur once it's repaid, creating a ripple effect of positive change. So if you're looking for a meaningful way to make a difference in the world, consider making a loan through Kiva. With loans as small as $25, anyone can be a micro-lender and help change lives. Visit kiva.org to learn more and start lending today.
Well, today I have with me Terry and Carol Moss. They are relationship architects and co-authors of Hold You Before Two, bringing over 5 decades of ministry and corporate leadership experience to conversations on emotional maturity and wholeness. Through their One Flesh Ministries, they equip leaders and couples to thrive personally, professionally, and spiritually. Terry and Carol, how are you guys?
Hello, we are great. And thank you for having us. Excited to be here.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to other podcasts that I have, but I always ask 2 questions, and that is, what is your favorite style of music?
Oh, smooth R&B.
Same.
Okay. You got it. Smart
Luther
man,
Vandross.
So Luther, yeah, she loves Luther.
Okay.
He's the only man I let her love outside of myself. But he's dead. I'm okay. But also I like smooth jazz in addition to the feel like I like smooth jazz.
Yeah. One of my favorite artists is Gerald J. He's an amazing. I had a chance to meet him once at a conference in Atlanta. He's an amazing guy, and he's also a bass player, right? Because I'm a bass player. So in fact, all of the bass on his albums is him. So he records all of the bass on his albums, and he's like a mean saxophone player. So there you go. That's a free one. So if you're listening and you want to know who to listen to, go listen to Gerald J. and Luther Vandross. And you'll have a great evening.
That's right.
All right, so let me ask you guys, you've written 2 books, and truth be told, I've read both of them. And so I really love the way that you dive into the Word of God and the scriptures, but how you also use the principles of the Bible to teach leadership principles that are based on human character and human nature. Right. And that, you are honest and open about your lives, and we won't go into all the details. People need to get the books to understand, what you're sharing there. But you talk a lot about, one of the books is Hold You Before Two, and then in the beginning it was not. And then again, there's just a wealth of information. So let me ask you, what do you feel like has helped you guys in writing these books to become successful in what you're doing and working with corporate leaders and professional leaders and sharing these principles?
Great question. And sometimes good things happen from bad circumstances or difficult circumstances. And so like many people, There was a particular circumstance in my life going through a divorce after being married for 26 years and in ministry and working with couples and marriages and helping that. And then when that situation happened for me, while I was in the midst of it, there was a couple that came to me and said, okay, we want to get married and we want you to do our counseling. And I said, well, I appreciate that, but I want you to know, full disclosure, I'm going through a divorce myself. So if you want to get someone else in the church to help you, I won't be offended by that. And do you know what blessed me at that moment was when that guy said, him and his fiance, well, if you've been married for that long and you're going through a divorce, I want to talk with you because I want to know what not to do. And so that was just so refreshing. Yeah. And because in that moment, I thought any help I'm going to give to anybody is gone. You know, God's not going to use me anymore. I'm going to have the big D on my forehead and, you know, you're done. Right. That's how it felt. But in that moment, God used that moment to lift my spirit. And then eventually he then showed me what you're going through is not just for you, it's for others I'm going to bring to you. And he began to teach me these principles of relationship, marriage, but then even broader, but particularly the marriage relationship and relationship with him that was so rich and so deep and so different. Yeah. Well, going back to the same principles of the Word of God, but it was brought in a way that was just so powerful, so enlightening. And so from that began, then when this great woman came into my life, and that's another story, you'll have to have us back for that one. But when he brought us together, it just made what was really good, a me, into a much better we. And set us on this path of now, how do we go and take this to the people so that people can be healed, so their relationships can be restored, and so that they will have a way, because a lot of people just didn't seem to have a way. Yeah. So that was the kind of backdrop. And so that led not just from marriages, but then to different relationships and then into the business world. Because while I was in ministry for now over 55 years, I was in corporate America for 46 years. Yeah. And so on this dual track that I learned different things from both that end up kind of synergizing into a very nice me right now. Yeah.
And that is so good. Ironically enough, I remember when you were going through that before I even knew God was going to bring us together and I was going to be Mrs. Moss. And I saw and felt your tears because we were in ministry together at the same church. And I do remember saying, you were thinking that you're no longer going to be able to minister, help people, help couples. And I remember telling you what you're going through today is not just for yourself. God is going to use this circumstance for you to be able to help so many other people because you're in the midst of it and you feel it. And that came from me admiring your teaching as being the elder in our church and just the character of the man that you were and you are, not knowing that I was going to be your sidekick and your partner, but I just...
What a great partner to have. Oh,
back then you had so much to give and God was going to take those circumstances and use it for your good. And I told him that.
Yeah. Isn't it funny? People can see things in you that you don't see in yourself. I mean,
yeah. Well, Willie, Jolly, and Les Brown always say, when you're in the jar, you can't see the label.
I like it. So true. So true.
You know, and so, you know, I think it's really important, this topic in the area of productivity smarts. And, you know, I named the podcast Productivity Smarts because it was a holistic look at productivity. You know, so many people think of productivity as, you know, the GDP or, you know, some metric or, you know, how much did you build or how much did you make or and things along that line. And it really is more about, hey, are you able to be your best self in every part of your life, right? And it's not just this one part, but it's every part of your life. And so that's really, really important. So now, in your book, Hold You Before Two, you explore emotional maturity in relationships. And that's really critical when it comes to relationships in corporate America, relationships in leadership, and things along that line. And so how does emotional wholeness directly impact a leader's productivity at work and at home?
Yes. So there's emotional wholeness and emotional maturity, which is
Right.
for us, the way we describe it. Emotional wholeness is when your emotional, spiritual, and relational life is aligned.
Yeah.
When it's aligned and grounded and growing.
Right.
That's what we call the wholeness piece. So a part of that is that emotional maturity. The emotional maturity, the way we define it, begins with knowing who you are,
Yeah.
loving who you are, and then living true to who you are in any space, in any place.
Yeah.
So we get into identity and self-worth and authenticity. So when you have those backstops within you, those characteristics, you take that whether you are in the business place or in the marketplace or in the home place. Because now instead of you trying to be this divergent, schizophrenic, who am I today? Who am I in this place? How do I have to behave now? You begin to realize that, hey, I can just be me.
Exactly.
And then how I play me in the corporate world, it may play one way. It may play in the sense of being healthy enough to know how to communicate in a way that's not offensive to people or not pouncing on people, but it elevates and encourages and inspires. That comes from a place of wholeness because I know my strength and I know my ability to do that. And then when you come in the home place, and Carol taught me this, don't bring that business stuff in here.
Not in the office.
Not in the office. And so now, still me, but now I'm going to behave differently.
Right.
There may be what we call a softer side.
Yeah.
But really, it isn't soft that is not effective and not helpful and not productive.
Right.
It's just recognizing who this audience is and what he may need is a different part of me. And I have to be cool enough to be able to do that.
And with that, the emotional intelligence tells you that there is a difference. So you're going to be you, but you know how to then control it in the office and then at home, but yet your standards are still the same, which was so important to us. We didn't really identify it 20 years ago as emotional wholeness, but we just thank God that it was within us because you came into our lives as a blended family. So that is so emotional intelligence, emotional wholeness is so important, especially when you're blending a family.
Absolutely.
And it's really one of the key skills in leadership, whether it's corporate, spiritual, whether it's government, is this concept of emotional maturity or emotional intelligence. In fact, research shows that the leaders that are the most effective, the strongest skill they have is empathy, sympathy, and emotional intelligence, because it allows you, and I love the way that you wrote in the book, where you talk about the fact that, let's go back to the good book and how God established everything, that Adam had a job and a purpose, right? Tending the garden and naming all the animals, and he was busy, and then he realized, okay, I'm missing something here. I'm missing, a mate, but he was whole initially with just the job he was given. And then you carry that theme throughout the book. In every aspect of your life, whether it's your job, a relationship, or whatever, you have to be good with you. And when you're good with you, and when you're comfortable with yourself, and when you're happy with who you are, and you can kind of be whole and kind of be able to sit there in your space and feel good about where you are in life, then when somebody does come in your life, you're actually bringing something to the table.
Absolutely.
Much more than just saying, hey, well, for me to be happy, I need you in my life. And then that's only going to last for a short period of time because, when the rubber hits the road, stuff happens.
I absolutely love when you went back to refer to the book, in the beginning, it was not so, because that's my favorite story there, when God said there'd be male and female, but then he only created Adam first. He knew there'd be female, but he created Adam first, and he took Adam on that journey of wholeness, which was so important for Adam to learn that and become whole and just establishing that relationship before God said, I will make you a helper that's suitable for you. Adam had to become that whole person. And I think a lot of couples that we talk with, that part is missing.
Yeah, it really is. And when you bring your whole self to the table and your authentic self to the table, then you have something to give, but your joy is not based on, did we have a good conversation? Is everything okay? Did I say the right thing? Because just in life, you're going to say stuff, you're going to put your foot in your mouth, right? You're going to say stuff that is not the right thing, or you're going to have a conversation. If you're not arguing, which, some couples don't get into major arguments all the time, but they still can find themselves in a place where they're not connecting. But if you're whole, then you don't need that other person to connect with you to be happy. And so you're able to give more of yourself and be more gracious, I think, based on, what I read and what my own experience of just living life.
Yeah. So here's the interesting thing. Where do you learn that emotional wholeness, that emotional maturity to bring into a relationship as you just described it? Is that something that's commonplace? Does everybody have that automatically?
No, I don't think so. I think it's something that we have to live life and experience, because as when we're born, right, everything is about me, right? We want mommy to take care of me. We want, daddy to play with me. We want this. We want everything's about, and then you got to learn, if it's not in your character, that it's not about you and the world doesn't spin around you. And sometimes you learn those things through painful experiences, right? Through painful things that happen to you where you're not experiencing, or you're not the center of the wheel. And you have to learn to let that go and become focused on other people and sharing. And so I think it's life that teaches you those things, but it's also your family, your parents, others that teach you those things. But it's a process, right? It doesn't just happen overnight. It's a process. And I think that's what I took away, that was what you were trying to get across about Adam and the process of, the garden and the animals and everything else before the mate came in the picture.
Yeah.
And so, Mr. Gerald, just think of this. So look at what happens when your parents do make it all about you, and you start growing, and then you start establishing your career, and then you get into this relationship, but yet you never learned that emotional wholeness. What do you think is going to happen? Then you struggle. We see that so much. You struggle in your career. You struggle in your relationships. And someone at some point have to stop and tell you you're emotionally immature. And that hits you hard. But yet, if you're not whole or mature enough to accept that so that you can be free, then you're going to live a life of struggle. You're going to always be boxed into this.
That's why this conversation is so important, because it doesn't happen automatically.
Right.
And if it doesn't happen in your family of origin, if it doesn't happen along the way in your developmental process, now you are going to come into a relationship, whether it's a marriage relationship, friendship, business, partnership. You come into that relationship not healed, not whole, not knowing really who I am.
Right.
Because I keep identifying myself by my success, or by my performance, or by my accolades, or by the attaboys.
Right.
But then when those are missing, who am I?
Right.
Or we identify ourselves by our roles. Well, I know who I am. I'm the corporate leader. I'm the CEO. I'm the chief operating officer. I'm the this, I'm the that. I'm the manager. I'm the supervisor. But who are you?
Right.
That's what you do. Oh, I'm a father. I'm a mother. That's what you do. But who are you? So one of the exercises in the second book we ask people to do, because I did it myself years ago, and it's so helpful, is to write down, who am I?
Yeah. Yeah, I like that about your book, where at the end of each chapter, you have these worksheets or these workshops, and you ask questions, but you also get people to kind of have reflective questions that they can either have a discussion group around, or it can just be a book that you kind of read, especially if you're kind of going through that period in your life where, you've lost a job, or you're struggling with this, or you're in a relationship that's not going well, and you're like, okay, I need something to guide me through this time, and I don't know what to ask myself. And please don't use, and I'm an AI expert. I've done courses with the University of Chicago, Johns Hopkins, Kellogg, like Ivy League courses on AI. Do not use AI for relationship advice. Please don't do it. And here's why. AI is really good at left brain activities.
Yes.
It can analyze data. It can cipher through tons of information and find correlations. It can find all those things. It is not human, and it does not understand relationships. So to go and get relational advice from a computer, you're just asking for trouble.
Right. Because that left brain will teach you what you can. Here's some things to do.
Right.
If you want to improve your relationship, learn how to communicate better. Here's some skills on communication. You need to love and respect one another. And those things are true. But how do you implement that? How do you execute that in the relationship, in that moment when you are challenged with this person and they've said something like, you're so emotionally immature? Well, there's a reaction button that will be clicked that will cause you to behave in a certain way that no AI is going to teach you. Well, now, if she says that, you say this. I don't know, or maybe it will.
No. Well, go ahead, Carol.
And that is so true. But again, we fail to remember that wisdom and knowledge and wisdom goes together. So AI can give you the knowledge, but wisdom comes from experience. Wisdom comes from inside. So it cannot give you that wisdom of the emotional intelligence. It can give you the knowledge of it, but it can't give you the wisdom of it.
Well, that's why. Oh, I'm sorry. You were going to say it.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to go back because she says emotional intelligence, but then she adds the depth to it. And I think that's the difference between emotional intelligence and emotional maturity or emotional wholeness. Is emotional intelligence can identify the what.
Right.
What emotional wholeness and emotional maturity allows you to understand the why and the how. So for instance, if I'm angry, that's emotional intelligence to be able to state that and to name that and to know you're angry.
Right.
But the emotional maturity is now, how do I respond? How do I handle that? How do I address that? What do I do differently so that I can control that emotion so that the anger doesn't cause disruption or cause chaos or cause person to be demeaned or demoralized?
Right.
And so we need that maturity, that emotional wholeness. And what was the other you said? That wisdom.
Yeah.
That wisdom that life bringeth.
Right. Exactly. Now, I got a couple of questions for each of you guys, but I want to make this statement around this AI topic, and then we can leave it along. Here's a thing that I think is really important that most people don't talk about when it comes to AI giving humans advice around relationships and those emotional things. We, like AI, have an electronic system. We have the meridian system in our bodies, right? And electrons are zeros and ones. It's either on or off, right? We got electrics happening in our bodies. Well, the computers do too. But what our electrical system does, it takes that and turns it into neurochemicals so that we have oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin. And many times those are the chemicals that create the emotions. Computer can never have oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin. So it can never have the nuances of emotions or the wisdom that we can have as human beings. And that's why I say, it's very dangerous. And there's a number of professors, I think one of those guys, Arthur Brooks of Harvard Business School, said AI is great for the left brain. It is not for the right brain, because when we bring in those emotions and those nuances, it can't really go there. It may act like it can go there, but it can't go there. So now, Terry, I have a question for you. With
Yes,
corporate leaders, what are some of the patterns that they could either strengthen or sabotage their leadership effectiveness if they are not addressing this emotional intelligence?
So how they can sabotage is really a really good question, because so you have the emotional maturity side,
Right.
and then the emotional immaturity side.
Right.
And so the strengthen comes when you are emotionally whole and you have self-awareness. So you have this honest look at myself. I know who I am. And so I have strength because I know who I am, and I'm not intimidated or I'm not insecure. On the other hand, the emotional immaturity side needs that constant reassurance because they are insecure.
Right.
And so keep patting them on the back, keep giving them the rewards, and they're going to be fine. If not, oh my gosh, they're going to be like the most miserable, ornery, evil leaders that you can find in the marketplace. Another one is the strength that can come from the emotional maturity is that emotional stability, I call it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other side is this reactive, responsive person who anything sets them off. And so if you're in a corporate setting, and I've been in these kind of settings where you have that strong leader, but emotionally grounded, when they come across, when they speak to you, when they speak and cast vision or they're communicating expectations, it comes across with clarity and with connection. I understand where he's coming from. I know what she means. I know how we can accomplish that. And so now they feel inspired and supported and ready.
Right.
On the other hand, when you have this explosive, reactive person who is in that leadership role and someone asks a question for clarity, boy, what do you mean? Are you disagreeing with me? Or what do you think? I've been in this business for all this time. You get those kind of responses.
Yeah.
So that's
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And because we all have what the creator gave us called mirror neurons, where, as you're talking, I can look at you, even across the world on computers, we can look at each other, we can look at each other's eyes, and we can feel that emotion. We can pick up on that vibe, and we can even impact each other to produce the same neurochemicals. So if I'm excited and grateful and really wanted to be in your guys' life, then you're going to feel that, right? You're going to walk away like, man, okay, this guy's really giving himself in this conversation. But if I'm that negative person, guess what? You're going to feel that as well. That's right. Again, computers can't do those kinds of things, but we can either support ourselves and strengthen our leadership through that, or we can sabotage our leadership because whatever you're putting out is what everybody's actually receiving, and they're going to then start putting back towards you, and it can become a very dysfunctional country, a very dysfunctional society, a very dysfunctional company, or whatever. Now, Carol, I have a question for you. In regards to mentoring and leading women, right? How does unresolved emotional conflict quietly drain their creative energy and professional momentum? How does that impact?
Wow, that's a big question, and that's a good question. But as you guys were already talking about, it all goes back to that wholeness, that emotional maturity, because creativity takes creativity to be creative. You need that free mind to be able to use your creativity. And so when you have your mind so filled with unresolved issues, then that creativity cannot come through, because the unresolved issues is heavy. So it creates anxiety. It creates this thought pattern, and it even stops you from sleeping because your mind will constantly battle with that. I should have said this. I should have did this. I shouldn't have said this. It takes over. So it blocks out the creativity that you have within yourself. I say to our women, we spend a lot of time looking on the outward appearance, caring about our outward appearance. We do a lot. We put our makeup on, we get our hair done, we do our eyes, we feel good somewhat of what we look like on the outside, but we don't do a lot on the inside.
Yeah.
So it's always external and not internal. So internally, when we work on ourselves and that emotional wholeness on us, then we're able to kind of work with the unresolved issues because we know how to channel them. We'll say to ourselves, just say in the morning you get into a big argument with your spouse and on the way to work. If the emotional immaturity is settled in you, that's going to take over your whole day. When you get to work, you can't say hi. Of course, you can't be creative. You're in a staff meeting, your face is ugly. You're mad at the world. But when we work on our emotional maturity within, we know how to just say, okay, I'm going to channel that. Or you can call and say, you know what? I'm sorry. Humility comes. Let's talk about this later. When we get that internal joy and feel good about who we are on the inside, that's when that creativity comes on the outside. We know how to handle the unresolved issues. We'll table that for later. It doesn't take over your whole self.
Exactly. And it works on both, men and women. When we get, we have that nagging conversation, or a disagreement, or things aren't right. What happens neurologically is our amygdala kicks in, and it puts us in a place where we feel like we're being chased by a bear. Right? Now, think about it. If you're being chased by a bear, are you thinking about being kind? Are you thinking about being... You're just, it's like the thought process is gone. You're simply thinking about, how do I stay alive? And many times it may be, how do I stay alive emotionally in my job? Because, I had this conversation with my spouse. I had this conversation with, someone in my family, and it really put me in this, bear chasing mode. And now I'm coming into work, and my personal life is having a major impact on my work life, because now I'm bringing that. It's like, unless you are really good at quelling that down and you have some techniques, which I want to talk about now, it's really difficult to quell that mindset if you are just what we call amygdala hijacked, and you're focused on the fear and the relationship and the negativity and so on and so forth. So let me ask you guys this.
Can I add one thing to that? Imagine living your life like that. So not just the unresolved issues of the day or yesterday, but of your childhood.
Right.
If you were abused or neglected as a child, you feel like your whole life now is that this bear is chasing you, and you live your life in fear and running.
Yes. Yeah. And that's really, really important. And that means, it's kind of like, I'm trying to remember who said it, but it was like the unexamined life, right, is not worth living, but the examined life. And that's really what we have to do, is we have to stop. And I think that's what your book does, is that as you're reading it, it helps you to examine your life, right? It helps you to stop and think, okay, hey, how am I handling? Because as I was reading, I was like, wow, that's a really good question. How am I handling this part of my life? Or how do I see myself? Or how am I when I'm by myself? And so those are really, really good questions. So let me ask you guys this. What are some daily habits that could help someone who's listening build emotional resilience that could translate into better decision-making and a better life based on everything that's going on in their lives right now?
Yeah. And I love that question about having a better life and having the ability to make better decisions. Because I really think that a lot of success in life has to do with the quality of our decision-making.
Yes.
And when we don't do that very well, we have to suffer those consequences. And so that also messes with your psyche.
Right.
The amygdala chasing the bear thing.
Lead that to Mr. Gerald. The medical terms.
I don't have no, I'm listening,
People wholeness, dance on it out.
Love it. I love it. I can spend time talking to this guy. He's love it.
Excellent.
But in all seriousness, no, I really applied that question to me.
Yeah.
And so what helps me is first starting the day with some quiet time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When some people call it meditation, some call it prayer, devotion. I mean, whatever that quiet time is for you, I think that's so important because for me, it kind of clears my mind from yesterday. Okay. Whatever the challenges, whatever the issues, or whatever the things that I learned, sometimes I'm doing that. I'm processing, okay, what did I learn from that experience? What did I learn from that? And then prepares me for my purpose for today.
Right.
Now, what am I going to be doing today? And what do I need to be prepared? What I need to study? What do I need to write? What do I need to read? What do I need to do to be prepared? And a lot of people skip that because it's like, okay, have my time. Okay, let me get to it.
Mm-hmm.
What are you getting to? You know, we need to be Zig Ziglar, I think it was, called it meaningful, specific, and not a wandering generality. I mean, if we don't have a purpose or have a point or have a target, then we will just be all over the place. So it helps us in preparation for that day. And that's part of that resilience, that ability to be prepared and to be able to even though prepared, I'm prepared also I may have to weave, or I may have to make a different decision or go a different route today because of whatever happens. And so I think that's important. Another thing I think about is considering other people.
Yeah.
I remember days sitting in the chair in the corporate America seat and thinking about those things. Okay, today I have this meeting, or today I have a meeting with this person. Today I'm going to have this review. And then now what I'm considering the other person, what are they going to need from me? Or what are they going to need for them from me? You know what I mean? They mean there's something for me, they mean this from me. And so I'm thinking those things through, because now it helps me start making those decisions.
Right.
All of this is preparing me. So now I'm making good decisions around my day, around my purpose, around the people and the plan. And I believe that companies don't fail because of systems and processes. I think they fail when they don't focus on their people and help their people be the most productive part of the system. And so those are just a few things I think about.
That's good. That's good.
No, I think, that's very important. Go ahead, Carol.
And for me, as soon as I open my eyes, I sleep with a little mask. And then I see that the sun is coming up and the day is bright, but I always open my eyes with gratitude. I start my day with gratitude. I will say, thank you, Father, for waking me up today. Someone has not made it this far. Someone has not made it this far, because I always say there's always something, no matter what you're going through, there's always something to be grateful for. If you try to start your day with just that first gratefulness, it gives you that joy or kind of peace. We talk with a lot of couples and we hear a lot of stories. We hear a lot. And I just say, start off with gratitude. Thank you. Because I may be going through something, but I'm not going through that. I may be dealing with this, but I'm not dealing with that. So there's always something to be grateful for. So when we learn to have that gratitude, I think that's an internal change within us that brings us peace and joy.
Yeah, that's really, really important. And it's interesting because the essence of both of your books are based on, basically biblical tools and biblical wisdom around wholeness. Not everybody follows the Bible that way, but those principles are timeless and eternal, right? They're just timeless and eternal. So whether you call it the good book or whether you say the universe or the laws of nature, it all applies to the things that are captured in that particular, in that book. So how can someone apply these principles practically in high pressure corporate or even creative environments where, again, things can be really tense, but if you have a good grounding, I think you can maneuver your way through if you use the principles that are kind of already given to us. What do you guys think about that?
I agree wholeheartedly. As a matter of fact, we have started a whole new business. One Flesh Ministries is a nonprofit organization. Now we have created a for-profit organization called Whole Leader Blueprint, LLC.
Oh, wow.
And
like
so, thank you. And I'm excited about it because it's taking these same principles and doing what we've been doing here today, applying them to a corporate, to a business leader concept. And how does that work? And how can we help them work? And so whole leader blueprint, say that 3 times fast, is all about equipping leaders in the marketplace, business, corporate leaders, around the whole idea of emotional maturity and how it can be a competitive advantage for tomorrow's leader. And so it is just exciting because those things that we've been talking about here are those principles: emotional maturity, emotional wholeness, being healed from the inside out, knowing who you are, loving who you are, and living true to yourself. I mean, how badly do we need authentic, real people today?
Yes.
With so many things floating around us that are fake this, phony that. Well, what's truth? What's real? Right. And we can model an example of wholeness in the marketplace, in corporate America. And because all those people that you lead in corporate America is going home to somebody.
Exactly.
You're going home to a dog or whatever. I mean, but there's going to be another place and space for them to be able to express what maybe you as a leader, even in their corporate space, can do something for them that not only sustains the profitability of your organization for a year or 2 or 3, but sustain a lifetime for others for decades.
Yeah.
And so I think the mission is even more important today in the marketplace than in the past, when a lot of people are hearing a lot of things and a lot of concepts. But if we can show truth and wholeness and realness and how that actually is a way for bottom line productivity, it's not this soft skill, throw it out there and no big deal, we'll get to it. It really is a competitive advantage today.
Well, I think it's really smart, and I think it's the right idea at the right time, because between globalization, AI, and automation, many of the operational things that we used to focus on are actually going away. I was talking about, my wife and I were driving back from breakfast the other morning, and I said, when's the last, we passed by our bank. It's one of the banks that we go to. It's a global bank. But we basically said, when is the last time you walked into a bank?
Right.
And she was like, I don't remember.
Isn't that something?
Because literally most of our banking is done from our phone, right?
Yes.
I mean, whether paying bills, transferring money, putting that, whatever you got to do is done from the phone. So that's a whole industry in a whole area where it used to be very practical. That's actually, slowly going away, and it's just being automated. But what's not being automated and will never be automated is what you just talked about. That human touch, that human character, those leadership skills, those emotional intelligence concepts, where we have to meet each other eye to eye and figure out how to work together around all of these things.
Yes.
And I love what you said. And there's a statement, and I'm sure you've heard it before, that it said that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
And that's what makes you that effective leader, is just making people feel valued, like their creativity, their ideals is what is helping this company be as effective. And you're unable to do that with that lack of emotional maturity, because you think you need to be the boss, the secretary, the janitor. And when someone comes up with an ideal, you're so competitive that don't even matter. But when you make people feel like their ideal matter and they're a part of, you get more productivity than just a raise is good, but...
Exactly. So last question I have for you guys, and I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation here. If someone's listening and they're feeling stuck, right? And a lot of people right now are going through that. They're feeling stuck and they're like, okay, how do I keep up? How do I deal? And whether it's in their marriage or a leadership role or a creative pursuit, what is like one first step that you could recommend from your book or just your experience that they could put into practice today to kind of help them get unstuck? What's one thing they could do?
Well, my one thing, Carol's maybe a different. My one thing And when I do this, it reminded me of that movie a long time ago, City Slickers.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that movie, but I forget the guy who's the main character actor, but he was speaking to the old crusty cowboy, and he was saying to the old crusty cowboy, "You just seem so together and never fret, never, what is it? What is your thing? What is the thing?" And the old crusty cowboy looked at him and said, "One thing." That's all he said. It's one thing. And it's like, okay, come on, more. So when I think about the one thing, that's what I think about. Sorry for the divergence there. But I would tell you, I would share my one thing that I think about. And it really is, we touched on it earlier, but I believe it's more important than we even realize. And that is taking the time to know who I am.
Yes.
Who am I really?
Yeah.
And because that, and again, I did this now was probably 20 years ago or more, going through the divorce situation and then being asked to write some things out. But I started with that.
Yeah.
Who am I? And it was really for the first time, because I always would answer that based on my roles. Oh, I'm a minister, I'm a teacher, I'm a leader, I'm a father, I'm a this, I'm that. That Tay was, who am I really? Who is Terry Moss? And when I began to write that and look at that, it just, everything after that, every corporate decision, every wife, personal decision, friend decision, it just colored and gave direction to each one of those parts of me going forward. So if there's one thing that I would suggest people start today, and that is just taking some time and really thinking about who am I really.
Yeah. I think it's really valuable. Carol, did you have anything you want to say there?
Yeah. And to go along with that, so knowing who you are, your identity, but then loving who you are goes along with that.
Yeah.
Because as long as I am good with who I am, then it gives me the ability to learn. It gives me the ability to have that compassion, the empathy, the forgiveness, all that is necessary. And so then I become okay with who I am, so I don't have to compete with others. And then knowing and loving who I am allows me to live authentically. So I can show up in any place being my true self.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really, really good. I think we're going to end it on that one, because that's really, really good. You guys have written some great books, and the latest one, Whole You Before Two, How Emotional Wholeness Transforms Every Relationship. Where can people get your books and learn more about you and the things that you guys are working on and doing?
So the book you can get on Amazon. No, they can't get it here. You got to get it. Well, you can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever they have books sold like that. To get more information about us and to contact us is onefleshministries.org. onefleshministries.org. It has information about us, what we do, how we do it, our values, our mission, also some other little exercises and things that you might be interested in, and some free resources, and also, again, how you can contact us, because we would love to have more conversations like this in other spaces. Go share a conference with Gerald or something like that. We can all talk together. But yeah, do contact us. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, guys, it has been a pleasure having you on the Productivity Smarts podcast. I have enjoyed this conversation. I really recommend that wherever you are in life, these two books will give you really a thought guide, a way to guide your thinking to really ask that really valuable and important, I think probably one of the most important questions you can ask yourself in life at different stages of your life is, who am I now? Where am I going? Who am I? And what do I have? So again, thank you guys so much for being on the Productivity Smarts podcast.
Thank you.
If you're enjoying the content and finding it valuable, We would appreciate it if you could take a moment and leave us a review. Your feedback is important to us and helps us reach a wider audience. If you leave us a 5-star review, it would mean the world to us. Not only does it help us improve the podcast, but it also helps us attract more sponsors and grow our community. Thank you again for your support and for listening to the Productivity Smarts podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to Productivity Smarts, where we help you achieve your goals and live your best life. We hope you've gained valuable insights and actionable strategies to boost your productivity and increase your happiness and fulfillment. Remember to apply what you've learned and keep striving towards your goals. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more inspiring episodes and expert advice from our host, Gerald J. Leonard. Until next time, keep pushing forward and unleashing your productivity smarts.